Hello and welcome to Out of State Podcast. I'm your host, lluksblackheart. Uh, Today we'll be mainly going over recaps of what was discussed in the past couple of episodes and what the next bundle of episodes will be. To start off, we were going over feats. Uh, some of the prerequisites, how some of them work. Uh, and to recap certain strong points are if you're looking into feats, because again, several of them are straightforward and simple, like, oh, you get a bonus to this. So just like with skills, read the feat before taking the feat. Some feats, like I said, are just really good, straightforward, boom, while other ones are a lot more complicated and or require certain circumstances to work. And if those circumstances aren't met, they don't work. Like dodge, if you do not declare a target on your turn, it does not work. Mobility only works if you're moving through threatened spaces that provoke attack of opportunity. Does it work? If you're not provoking attacks of opportunity while moving through threatened spaces, it doesn't work. Meta magic feats always raise the spell level by some degree, so despite what this meta magic feat does, rate that, because it can be as low as a +1 to as high as a +4, so it does not work for all feats. Yes, that does mean that ninth level feats, unless you're using a rod, not 9th level feats, ninth level spells, unless you're using a greater rod of meta magic, they can't be altered through meta magic feats. 8th level spells are limited to only 1s, 7s to 2s, 6s to 3s, and 5th level spells are the only ones that can have 4. Now, that's not to state that there's workarounds and loopholes. There is, but that gets into expanded feats, which we're not doing expanded material at this moment because there is expanded material that can help a person out there. There's also stuff that starting at epic level, which is level 21, where a lot of that also starts to kick in and work. Another thing with feats note is if you have questions, talk to your DM. Don't ignore them. If you don't know exactly how a feat's supposed to work, talk to them. If you believe there might be conflicting opinions on how a feat works, talk to your DM. Don't yell at him, don't argue with them. Don't argue with them, don't yell at them, don't try to say it's by the letter, because again, DM prerogative. DMs can say, no, I'll permit this to do this because of this. Or they don't have to add because, but boom. Big thing to know is also pay attention to the prerequisites. Because there's a lot of people, in my experience, that have pretty much gone, I'm taking this feat, and then I just look at them fully knowing that they don't have the preregs. Like, Spring Attack, it has multiple preregs. It's like, you can't take that at level 3. Yes, I can. It's like, no, you're a rogue. There's multiple feats you need to get. A third level rogue doesn't get those feats. Even if you're human, by that point you only have 3 feats. It takes like 4 feats just to have it, and I think like a plus. We just went over this. Already forgot. Like you need at least like a +6 base attack also to get it. So there's a lot of things needed to get particular feats that you can't just go, I want it, therefore I get it. Because again, preregs aren't there as a means to stop you from having fun. They're not there as a limiting factor. They are there to help A, pace yourself, and B, not make the game so broken. The moment you start removing those prerequisites, the moment the game starts becoming nothing more but a group of power gaming, functionizing mid-maxers. Because if you're removing prerequisites, then nothing's stopping you from taking feats of any kind. And yes, I've been there and been told by DMs that they don't care about prerequisites, and then not even make halfway through the entire game session, he's ending it because he can't do anything. Why? Because there's multiple players that have a laundry list of feats that they technically shouldn't have because they're class restricted or they require very specific things to get them, but they have them, and because they have them, they're literally jumping around any sort of engagement, one-shotting or near one-shotting everything, and every time the DM will go, well, I have this, haha, one of them goes, well, I have this, haha. So those prerequisites are there to help prevent too early, I use that term loosely, too early, making the party members way too broken, way too overpowered. Because again, you don't have to try to be broken to be broken. Just when it comes to feats, all you have to do is just pick ones that work, and suddenly you're steamrolling through the enemy. And when it comes to trying to perform certain archetypes and or schemes, picking the right class does help you with it, because that can help you get the appropriate feats to help go that. Like, a lot of people, when they want to play Legolas, because he's a super great archer, like to go Ranger, which is fine and all, but a person who goes Fighter just focus on range combat, which for some weird reason a lot of people like to go, why are you doing that? A Ranger's better. It depends on what you're trying to do, because there's a laundry list of feats that if you go Fighter, you're getting those feats earlier. And you can get them almost right off the bat, because like, just off a normal level aggression, you have first level, and then starting at third level, and every 3 levels thereafter, you get a bonus feat. If you go Ranger, the bonus feats it gives you are preset on what they are. The combat style for archery is still limited to tier 1s, so you have to go outside the box to get any of the other ones. While a fighter, you get a first level feat just for being a fighter at level 1. You get level 2, and then 4, 6, and so on. So you just get a lot of feats a lot earlier, and as long as it's a combat feat, you can take them. So while a person going Ranger normally goes, okay, I started with point blank shot because I have one optional feat, because A, I didn't pick human, and B, I only get one feat. Then a human fighter pops up and goes, oh, I have precise shot, point blank shot, and rapid shot. You need point blank shot to have both of those other feats. Well, a first level human fighter, one for being level 1, one for being human, does they get a bonus feat, and then one for being first level fighter, means they come in getting 2 attacks a turn, even though it's a -2 penalty to each one, it's still 2 attacks. They ignore the -4 penalty for shooting into melee, and because they have point blank shot, if it's within 30 feet, they get additional +1 to attack and damage rolls. So it's pretty spot on. While the Ranger has to actually wait for levels before they get their combat styles, before they get the the more options with it, and they have to outsource some of those feats. So if you're trying to be like a Legolas and focus on archery, just go Fighter. Because if you're going Ranger, again, Rangers have actual class features outside of just getting feats. They eventually have to do with spells, and then they eventually have to do with Animal Companion. They just have a lot more stuff to work on other than just, I shoot bow. So it's all about, A, having a general good grasp of what you're going for, and then B, what options you take to go that route. Like, for instance, in one of my current games I'm running, one person wanted to be a cook. Okay, not a problem. They went Fighter. Okay, not a problem. And they wanted to use their frying pan as a weapon. Well, normally that's a big a big minus because it's an impromptu weapon and it's not necessarily a very good weapon. But it was still funny for the cook just run up, start flying ban people. But there's a feat in improvised weapon that gets rid of that bonus. Well, that's not a common feat. They took it because technically it counts as a fighter feat, and that's also technically not even a core feat. So that's an example of a optional foot feat from an optional source that lets a person do something that normally other people will take minuses and make it not worth doing, simply so they can somewhat play the I'm a cook, I'm going to hit you with my pan. So that's funny and still somewhat effective, all looped all in one. There's another person in it that's going range and is have a bundle of ranged feats that help them because they're fighter. And then there's another party member who's trying to do range, but they're a bard. And they started pretty late with their going range stuff, on top of the fact that their main weapon they're using for range combat is an exotic weapon. So at level 3, they took the feat to be proficient with it, so there goes a -4. And they just recently got to level 6, so they took point blank shot, point blank shot, which is needed to get several other feats. But unless they decide to cross class into fighter, they're gonna have to wait till at least level 9 before they can shoot into melee without having to stress that -4 penalty. Simply because they started a wee bit late, instead of going at level 1 and initially trying to get stuff to do there. They started at level 3, and because they're bards, which can be good combatants depending on how you do it, this individual's running into the problems that they're not the best archer. They're not hitting all the time. They're just generally not that great because, again, they don't have all the stuff that goes for it. And that leads into trying to somewhat predict where you want to go as early as possible to set yourself up to get there as early as possible. And because they decided at level 3 that they're going to start going that way, and they don't want to cross class into fighter to not only get it there faster but more efficiently, they want to start taking it way later, and they're possibly going to be level 15 by the time they're done taking the needed feats to get what they want to do, while the level 3 fighter already has all those feats. So there's a clear-cut difference in it. If a DM gives you recommendations based on what you describe for your concept, hear them out, double check the feats, and there's a good chance that they're trying to help you. That they're not trying to bone you, they're not trying to mislead you, that they're trying to help you. And that's technically part of their job description, is helping their players. Even though there's a lot of DMs out there that I've had to fall subject to that literally made me want to not play D&D anymore, because, like, you told me you said, hey, these feats were great for you. I took them because you recommended them. They weren't really that great, and now my character's dead that same game, dead first game session. And you're sitting there going, well, you shouldn't have picked those feats. It's like, you suggested these feats. So I've been there with DMs that have no problem hindering their players, have no problem trying to make sure their players are never in states that they have to stress the bad guys ever losing. Been there. Had to suffer through it. I had a DM that had a goal of doing either partial or complete party wipes every single weekend, to a point where I stopped playing in his games, and a lot of people eventually just stopped playing his games because A, they had options with their DMs, and B, they were tired of spending their weekends making new characters because he liked to kill them as quickly as possible and in some of the stupidest ways. By adding features to monsters that they don't normally have, and or just making the monsters stupid broken. It's like level 1 people shouldn't be fighting nightmares, and not just even a normal nightmare, a nightmare that has double the amount of hit dice and is wearing magical equipment that it shouldn't be wearing. It has no fingers for rings. Why does it have rings on? It's supposed to have, when it comes to its feet, it's not supposed to be able to wear boots or even gloves. There's horseshoe magical items for it. Why is it wearing boots that make it go faster and gloves that increase its dex? It can't wear those things. And it's not even like, oh, this is a hoof version. It's an alternate version of this item that does that same thing. No, it's legitly, here's a nightmare wearing gloves and boots. Like, legitly, that's how they're described. That's how they're depicted. It's like, oh, yes, it smashes its hooves while wearing its gloves. It's like, is it not destroying? Yeah. I just went on a rant. I apologize. Um, so like I said, I've been there with DMs who don't care. I've been there with DMs who love to mislead to do that. I do my best to not hinder my party when it comes to picking things, to a point where I do use alternate feats, and these feats I've dug through a lot of books to find, and properly utilize, solely because I want my players to better fit the niches they want to go into, and just be better. Does I don't like my bad guys having to go, okay, I have to lower my bad guys because these players aren't up to it, so I like to raise the party up. And feats are one of the easiest ways to do that. Because all it can take is one or two feats, and suddenly a player is far better than what they should be. Like, for instance, if you're trying to be better at turning, well, the extra turning feat out of the book. That helps you out by giving more turning. And when it comes to using optional stuff, the more turning attempts you have, the better it's going to be. Spellcasting, there's a bundle of feats there that help with that. Range combat, melee combat, boosting skills. There's a bundle of feats that just do a lot of wondrous things. And if you look to your DM to help you, one, don't just automatically think they're going to help you, because not all DMs are like that. A lot of them you have to ask for help. But if a DM does go, hey, do you want some options and or suggestions on what feats you should or should not take, hear them out. There's a good chance that you might see a viewpoint that you didn't see before that makes your character so much better. Like going back to the bard going range combat, I suggested if they wanted to do that at level 1. Take a few feats that set them up as early as possible to do range combat. They said no, they're never going to do that. They don't want to do that. No, that's not cool. That's not boom. And then when they decided to actually start doing range combat, they started complaining because they're never hitting. Why am I doing this because I'm never hitting? My response is, I told you here to do this. You didn't. Now you're complaining that you didn't listen. Because they could have had point blank shot because they're playing human. Point blank shot and precise shot at level 1. They said no. They wanted to focus on a few other things first. Which is not necessarily a bad idea, but I told them it's going to take you a while before you're even actually going to be able to perform any of these things here. And even when it comes to being proficient with the bow they wanted, I went, you have two options. Go their way to make it so that way you're better at range combat in general, and either A, hold off on using that bow, until you can get the point where you're proficient or not. They went, I want to be proficient. I went, okay, but you're still going to suffer on these ends here. And they still are. Because like I said, they're going to be level 9 before they actually don't have to stress shooting into melee. Level 12 when they want to take for rapid shot, and level 15 for mini shot. So they have a ways to go before they're going to feel the actual investment of it, because it's a long-term investment. But it's going to make them suffer because they don't have other feats that's going to help them with their spellcasting that they're trying to do. Because there are several feats they could take to help with their bardic spells that they're not taking because they're now focused on range combat. And or other skill-related feats that could help them with several skills that they are actually having problems with, because they're having problems with spot and listen checks. Well, alertness helps with that, because it gives a +2 to both of them, and skill focus, they pick one of them, and they're getting a +3 to that skill. So there's several skills that could help them, short and long term, by making one, if not both, skills that they've been failing on a lot better. But that goes into, if you're going to go a certain route, it is best to try to set yourself up as early as possible and do as much as you can to actually achieve it without hindering yourself. Because I'm not talking about trying to min-max, I'm not talking about power gaming or functionizing the character. I'm talking about not self-nerfing. What this player is technically self-nerfing, because when they wanted to do stuff with range combat, they didn't want to take the feats I suggested that they take. They went a different route. That route didn't necessarily cripple them or anything, but it means when they do range combat, they're now suffering because they're not good. They had to wait till level 3 to be able to use a bow, so they did that, bought the bow. Oh, I'm burpy now. But they're still suffering problems on like shooting into melee and stuff. And now they have to wait longer to do all these things that I told them they should have done at the beginning. So they put an obstacle in front of themselves, and the obstacle is being quite good an obstacle because they delay those feats, and the players consecutively complaining that, oh, I'm having problems hitting, oh, I can't hit this, oh, I have to wait till this is out of actual melee combat. It's like there's nothing I can do. I told you what you can do here. Now you're not doing it because you didn't want to do it, because you want to take a different route. Now you're complaining because you didn't do what I suggested. So if you're going to ignore suggestions from your DM, doesn't matter if they're bad suggestions and or good suggestions, if you're going to ignore them, don't bitch when it bites you in the ass. And that's not the first time I've had to deal with a player that decided that they wanted to do something and then couldn't perform it accurately because they said that my suggestions were stupid. Like, for instance, straight out the get-go, unless you pick like still and or silent metamagic feats, no metamagic feats are going to be able to actually apply to any of your spells, because the lowest ones increase the spell level by 1. So at level 1, 0 level spells can be prepped and cast as first level spells with either, not both combined, but either or, still or silence. But no one wants to take a still or silence. They want to take, like, I want to take maximize. Maximize is a +3, which means once they get access to 3rd level spells, they can prep a 0 level spell as a 3rd level spell and then cast it with full bonuses. The amount of times I've had to look at a player and go, you took a feat that you're not going to be able to use for quite some time. I can use it. It's like, no, you can't. Maximize magic missile. It's like, you're level 1. You don't have access to 4th level spells. Maximize does not work. It's just a normal magic missile. And then they sit there and complain because they wasted a feat, and they're not at the opportunity to go try to retrain it for several reasons. One, not in the area, and two, the feats they want to be the feats they want pick to try to retrain it as aren't common feats, and then you have to find someone on NPC that actually can train that feat because it's not an everyman's feat. Just for it to be pointed out, it's like that increases the spell slot by 2. You can't cast the highest level spell you can cast right now. It's still first level. First level. Why are you trying to get rid of a feat you can't use for a feat you can't use? And again, that's happened a lot. A lot. And I've been made the bad guy because I'm not breaking parameters of a game for these individuals because they don't want to follow A, advice, or B, the structure of the game. Because again, these parameters, the restrictions, the obstacles, they're not there to stop you from having fun. They're not there to limit your powers. Because again, D&D is not a race. The finish line is never within sight. It's just off in the distance somewhere. It's not a race. It's a marathon. All marathons do come to an end, but it's about pacing yourself. It's about getting to the destination, not racing to the destination. Because if you're racing to the destination, you're not having fun. You're missing out on anything. And the amount of games I've ran where they've been ruined by people literally pretty much trying to get to places as fast as possible. It's like, here's a bunch of stuff that I'm just going to have to throw away. Why? Because you guys attempt to try to race to get to this location, took all of this stuff here and made it mute point. What's the point of having an encounter list for monsters if there's no encounters? Sometimes that's great, because getting to a location somewhat faster and safer is a wonderful thing. But when those same people decide to complain that they're not going up in levels because they're not getting XP, they're not fighting creatures that have loot, when they go to fight actual bad guys at certain locations that they're supposed to be actually fighting, they never seem to have what they need. It's like, well, it's because if you guys would have listened and not done for the I just want to teleport everywhere, you would have the levels, because the XP would have given. You would have fought a bunch of different monsters that would have given you treasure and stuff, and you would be able to actually, with not big problems, defeat this fight. And those problems occur because people want to race to certain things. They want to get there as fast as possible. They want to circumvent all of this stuff. So if you want more feats, you need more levels. If you want those feats to work for you, read the feats. And at any particular point, you decide that you need to vent because the feats you have aren't working for you, and or it's going to take you forever to get certain feats. Assess the situation. Are you actually paying attention to the feats you took? It's a yes or no. Are you going the appropriate rates to get you experience, to get you level so you can get more feats? Yes or no. Are the feats you're taking feats you listened to your DM and took because he gave you really good advice? Yes or no. Are you complaining just to complain? Yes or no. And those questions are based on the fact that I've had to deal with people who've done those things. Because if you want, like I said, more levels means more feats. More feats means more options. More options means more fun. Don't limit what you're doing by trying to speed run. You get no special rewards for speedrunning D&D. You get no special achievements. There's not, I beat D&D in one game session. There's no achievements like that. You may get some self-gratification, like, oh man, I beat this module relatively quickly. It's like, it's either A, did the DM let you, well, there's parameters that go into like, why you beat it quickly, but it may be cool, but did you and the group actually enjoy the campaign? Did you actually enjoy the module, or did you speedrun through it just so you can say you beat it in a short time period? And I went on another raid. God, I gotta get a new co-host. But that's the recap, which I just realized I spent like a half hour doing the recap, some of it with me going on rants. Thank you for letting me rant. I appreciate it. Future episodes. The starting next week, we'll be starting to go over equipment. A lot of the bases you're going to need to know, how a bunch of the different stuff works, because yes, there's people who don't know how certain aspects of equipment work, because again, they don't read. I may or may not have a few other surprises lined up in the future, but starting next week, it's definitely equipment, which would be like weapons, then armor, then general equipment. So it may be a couple relatively short episodes or a couple long episodes, depending on how efficiently I can get through them. Because, again, I'm not trying to speed rush through these. It's just like with some of the feats, a lot of the stuff is self-explanatory and just real easy to get through. That being said, thank you for joining me. Join me next week as we go over equipment. And remember to, if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to leave them, because I still plan on eventually doing a Q&A episode, but I actually need questions to answer. So feel free to ask questions. There is no such thing as a wrong question or a stupid question. But remember to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.